Dear viewers, the following stories are inspired by real events. However, the names of the characters have been changed to protect privacy. Story 1. The Waving Clown in the Dark. In August 2016, in the quiet residential area of Fleetwood Manor in Greenville, South Carolina, residents began to buzz about a series of strange reports. Children told their parents about seeing scary clowns lurking near the apartment complex, especially in the wooded area behind it. Initially, many adults dismissed it as children's imaginations or perhaps a harmless prank. But the stories became more numerous and detailed, causing anxiety to spread throughout the community. One evening, David, whose real name is Anthony Williams, a father of 2 young children, was on his way home from a late night at work. As he drove down a deserted road near the woods, he suddenly saw a figure standing on the side of the road. Under the dim streetlight, David recognized it as a man dressed as a clown. The costume was colorful with bizarre patterns. The face was pale white with gaudy makeup and a wide, terrifying smile. The clown just stood there, silently staring at David's car. David felt a strange discomfort and chill. He pressed the accelerator, trying to leave the area as quickly as possible. He looked in his rearview mirror and still saw the clown standing there, waving slowly and eerily, as if saying goodbye. When he got home, David told his wife, Jessica, whose real name is Ashley Brown, about it. They both felt uneasy, but they still hoped it was just a coincidence. In the following days, reports of scary clowns continued to surface, not only in Fleetwood Manor but also in neighboring areas. Some residents reported seeing clowns trying to lure children into the woods, while others said they had been chased by these clowns. News of these incidents began to spread on social media and attracted the attention of local media outlets. The Greenville Police Department began an investigation, but they found no evidence that these clowns had committed any crimes. However, the anxiety in the community continued to grow. Many parents were afraid to let their children play outside, and some schools had to increase security to ensure the safety of students. One evening, Sarah, whose real name is Brittany Miller, a teenager living in Fleetwood Manor, was walking her dog near the woods when she heard strange giggling coming from inside. Sarah felt curious and a little scared. She decided to get closer to investigate, and she saw a clown sitting alone on an old swing in an abandoned playground. The clown turned its face towards Sarah and grinned widely, revealing sharp, terrifying teeth. Sarah ran away in fright, her dog barking fiercely at the clown. When she got home, Sarah told her parents what she had seen. They were extremely worried and decided to report the incident to the police. Sarah could not forget the terrifying smile and cold eyes of that clown. A few days later, a video circulated on social media showing a clown standing outside a convenience store at night. The clown was holding a bunch of black and red balloons, and when someone walked by, the clown lunged at the person with a terrifying scream. The video ended abruptly, leaving viewers chilled and scared. No one knew who that clown was or what his purpose was, but his appearance had sown terror in the hearts of the people of Greenville. After the video of the clown outside the convenience store went viral, the fear in the Greenville community became even more pervasive. News reports of scary clown sightings continued to pour in, not only in the Fleetwood Manor area but throughout the city and surrounding regions. Local television channels continuously reported on the situation, interviewing residents and police, creating an atmosphere of tension and unease. David and Jessica grew increasingly worried about the safety of their two young children. They didn't dare let them play outside alone and constantly reminded them to stay away from strangers. Sarah also felt uneasy whenever she went out. She always had the feeling that someone was watching her. The image of the clown's terrifying smile haunted her in her restless sleep. A week later, a horrifying incident occurred. A 10-year-old boy named James, whose real name is Ryan Carter, who lived in a neighborhood near Fleetwood Manor, disappeared while playing in a park near his home. Several hours later, police found him in a state of panic, with his hands and feet tied, in a forest not far away. The boy recounted that he had been kidnapped by a man dressed as a clown and held captive in an abandoned house. The kidnapping caused a wave of outrage and fear in the community. Everyone worried about the safety of their children. Parents organized impromptu patrol groups to monitor the neighborhood at night. Many residents armed themselves with self-defense devices, and the number of calls reporting suspicious clown sightings surged. The police increased patrol forces and expanded the investigation. They discovered that similar reports of scary clowns were appearing not only in Greenville but also in many other states across the United States. This led them to suspect that it might be a social media trend or a coordinated action by a group of people. One night, David heard a strange noise coming from his backyard. He cautiously went outside to check and saw a figure sneaking around near the fence. Under the dim moonlight, David recognized it as a person dressed as a clown. The clown was trying to climb over the fence to get into his yard. David immediately yelled loudly and called the police. The clown startled and ran away into the darkness. When the police arrived, they searched the surrounding area but did not find the clown. David and Jessica were extremely frightened. They decided to take their two children to stay with relatives until the situation calmed down. David couldn't understand why these things were happening and who was behind these terrifying acts. In the following weeks, the number of reports of scary clowns gradually decreased, but the obsession and anxiety remained deeply ingrained in the minds of the people of Greenville. No one knew for sure who those clowns were, what their purpose was, and whether they would return. But one thing was certain: the summer of 2016 had become a terrifying memory, reminding everyone of the scary things that can lurk even in the most peaceful neighborhoods. Story 2. The Clown at the End of the Road. The small town of Elmwood, Illinois, usually known for its peaceful and uneventful nature, suddenly became agitated in the autumn of 1978 when rumors of a strange clown began to spread. Children were the first to see him, telling their parents about a clown with a pale white face, a bright red smile stretching from ear to ear, and deep black eyes. He often appeared at dusk, standing silently at the end of deserted roads, staring at the houses. One afternoon in October, as Mike, whose real name is Robert Johnson, a 12-year-old boy, was riding his bike home from baseball practice, he saw a figure standing under a lamppost at the end of Oak Street. As he got closer, Mike realized it was a clown. He was wearing a wrinkled purple suit and holding a bunch of black balloons. The clown didn't do anything, just stood there looking at Mike with a grotesque smile. But his eyes exuded a coldness that made Mike's hair stand on end. Mike hurriedly pedaled faster, trying to get out of the clown's sight. He looked in his rearview mirror and still saw him standing there, as still as a statue. But his smile seemed wider. When he got home, Mike told his parents about it. At first, they didn't believe him, thinking he had imagined it. But when they heard Mike's detailed description of the clown's face and appearance, They began to feel worried. In the following days, more and more residents of Elmwood reported seeing the strange clown. Some said he had tried to approach them, even chasing them for a short distance. An old woman named Martha, whose real name is Helen Davies, recounted that while she was watering her garden, the clown suddenly appeared behind the fence and stared at her with a terrifying gaze. She was so frightened that she had to rush inside. News of the mysterious clown quickly reached Police Chief Brody, whose real name is Frank Miller. Initially, he thought it was just a prank by some mischievous teenagers. But as the number of reports increased and residents began to panic, he decided to open an investigation. Police officers were assigned to patrol in the evenings, especially in the deserted areas where residents often saw the clown. A group of teenagers in town, including Lisa, whose real name is Jennifer Wilson, Mike's girlfriend, and their two close friends, Tom, whose real name is Kevin Baker, and Amy, whose real name is Stephanie Carter, decided to investigate the mysterious clown themselves. They felt that the police were not acting quickly enough, and they wanted to find out what was really going on. They started by asking people who had seen the clown and recording the information they gathered. The group's investigation led them to an abandoned house on the outskirts of town, where some residents said they had seen the clown lurking nearby. The house looked old and creepy, with rotten wooden planks and shattered windows creating a frightening scene. As they approached, they heard faint giggling coming from inside. The sound sent a chill down everyone's spine. Mike decided to approach a broken window to look inside. He carefully peeked through the crack and saw a horrifying sight. In the dark room, a man dressed as a clown was sitting on an old armchair. He was holding a shiny knife and sharpening it on a stone. His face still had the scary makeup, but his eyes exuded a vicious and insane look. Mike quickly backed away, almost falling in fear. He whispered to his friends, "We have to call the police right now." After witnessing the terrifying scene in the abandoned house, Mike and his friends rushed to the police station to report what they had seen. Police Chief Brody listened to their story seriously and immediately dispatched a patrol team to the abandoned house to investigate. When the police raided the house, they discovered a secret room in the basement, filled with strange and frightening objects. In the secret room, police found various clown costumes, along with knives, ropes, and other suspicious items. They also found photographs taken secretly of children in the town, which led the police to suspect that this clown was not just someone who liked to scare people, but might also be involved in more serious crimes. While the police were investigating, another disappearance occurred. This time it was an 8-year-old girl named Emily, whose real name is Megan Davis, the younger sister of one of Mike's classmates. This incident sent the residents of Elmwood into a state of extreme panic. They feared that the mysterious clown might be a dangerous child abductor. The police increased their forces and expanded the search area. They scoured every corner of the town and the surrounding areas, and they called on residents to provide any information that might be related to Emily's disappearance and the scary clown. Mike and his friends also actively participated in the search, feeling responsible for helping Emily's family. A few days later, a resident discovered an old pickup truck abandoned in a remote wooded area outside of town. When the police examined the truck, they found some of Emily's personal belongings inside, along with a blood-stained clown costume. This was clear evidence that the mysterious clown was involved in the girl's disappearance. Based on the clues gathered, the police narrowed down a list of suspects, and they finally arrested a man named John, whose real name is Ronald Thompson, a middle-aged man who lived alone in the abandoned house on the outskirts of town. He had a history of mental illness and had previously exhibited violent behavior. During the interrogation, John confessed that he was the one who had caused the disturbances while dressed as a clown and was also the one who had kidnapped little Emily. He claimed that he did it just for fun and wanted to see people scared. His confession horrified and outraged the police and the residents of Elmwood. Eventually, little Emily was found safe in a secret cellar beneath John's house. He was arrested and brought to justice. However, what happened in the autumn of 1978 remained a scar on the hearts of the people of Elmwood. The story of the clown at the end of the road became a terrifying reminder of the evil that can lurk behind ordinary appearances and grotesque smiles. Story 3. The Stalking Clown. Sarah, whose real name is Amanda Peterson, a 35-year-old office worker living in the quiet suburb of Broomfield, near Denver, Colorado, had a routine of driving home alone after late work hours. Usually around 10 p.m. The road she took was quite deserted at that time, with only the dim yellow streetlights illuminating the trees on either side. Sarah enjoyed this quiet time. It helped her relax after a stressful day at work. But she had no idea that this tranquility would be shattered by an indescribable horror. One Tuesday night in October, as Sarah was driving on Lowell Boulevard, she suddenly saw a figure standing under a streetlight ahead. As she got closer, she recognized it as a clown. He was wearing a dark green and purple jumpsuit. His face was pale white with thick makeup, and his black eyes stared intently at her car. In his hand, he held a bright red balloon, standing out in the darkness. Sarah felt a strange unease. Her heart started to beat faster. She tried to ignore the clown and continued driving. But when she looked in her rearview mirror, she still saw him standing there. His face turned in the direction of her car. As if watching, Sarah shivered, telling herself she was probably just being paranoid, that it was just someone who liked to dress up. However, a few days later, on the same road and around the same time, Sarah saw the same clown again. This time he was standing behind a large tree. Only his pale white face with its terrifying smile peeking out. He didn't do anything, just stood there looking at Sarah with cold eyes. Sarah felt fear begin to creep into her mind. This couldn't be a coincidence anymore. Sarah started changing her route home, trying to take busier roads and leave work earlier. But no matter how hard she tried, she still felt the gaze of that clown following her. Sometimes she caught a glimpse of him at intersections, or standing silently under streetlights. The fear grew steadily in Sarah's heart. She began to feel anxious even when she was at home. One evening, when Sarah was driving home later than usual because she had to work overtime, she saw the clown standing right on the side of the road. He was no longer standing still but had started waving at her car. The movement slow and eerie. Sarah panicked and pressed the accelerator. She felt like someone was stalking her, an overwhelming fear engulfing her. When she reached her neighborhood, Sarah breathed a sigh of relief, thinking she was safe. But as she drove closer to her house, she suddenly saw a figure standing under the streetlight right in front of her driveway. Her heart stopped when she recognized it was the clown. He was standing there, facing her house, as if looking inside. Sarah quickly drove into her garage and slammed the door shut. She ran into the house and locked all the doors. That night, Sarah didn't dare to sleep. She constantly looked out the window, afraid the clown would reappear. Around 3 a.m., when everything was silent as the grave, Sarah suddenly heard a soft tapping sound coming from outside. She tiptoed to the window and peeked out. Under the dim moonlight, she saw the clown standing right in front of her porch. He turned his face towards her bedroom window, and Sarah clearly saw his deep black eyes staring directly at her. An absolute terror seizing her, she let out a choked scream. After that terrifying night, Sarah was almost broken. She didn't dare to stay alone in the house and always felt like someone was watching her. The very next morning, she reported the incident to the police, but they only took down the information and said they would increase patrols in the area. Sarah felt frustrated and helpless. She knew that her testimony alone was not enough for the police to catch the clown. Sarah told her friends and family what she had gone through. Everyone was worried about her. Her boyfriend, whose real name is Mark Olson, moved in with her for a while to ensure her safety. But even with Mark by her side, Sarah couldn't shake off the unease. Fear was constantly present in her mind. In the following days, Sarah continued to see the clown. He appeared in different locations along her commute. Sometimes he stood on street corners. Sometimes he sat on park benches. He always looked at Sarah with his terrifying gaze and grotesque smile. Sarah tried to take photos or videos of him, but every time she tried, he would mysteriously disappear. This situation began to seriously affect Sarah's life. She suffered from frequent insomnia, became irritable and anxious. She didn't dare to go out alone at night and always felt unsafe even inside her own home. Mark tried to find out about similar incidents in the area, but he couldn't find any information related to another scary clown. One night, while Sarah and Mark were watching TV in the living room, they heard a soft knock on the door. Mark cautiously looked through the peephole but saw no one. He opened the door and found nothing. But when he turned back, Sarah frantically pointed to the window. Outside, under the streetlight, the clown was standing there. He raised his hand and waved at them with a sinister smile. Mark quickly slammed the door shut and locked it. Both of them felt utterly terrified. They called the police, but when the police arrived, the clown had vanished without a trace. The police advised Sarah and Mark to install security cameras and be more careful in the future. Sarah and Mark followed the police's advice. They installed security cameras around their house and always checked carefully before going in and out. A few days later, while reviewing the footage from the cameras, they discovered something horrifying. On the night the clown appeared outside Sarah's bedroom window, the camera had recorded him standing there for almost an hour, just staring at the house. That footage sent chills down Sarah and Mark's spines. They couldn't understand why this clown was targeting Sarah and what he wanted from her. Fear continued to haunt them, and they knew that even if the clown disappeared or was caught, they would never forget the terrifying nights they had experienced. The image of the clown with his scary smile and deep black eyes would forever haunt their dreams. If you want to hear more true horror stories, don't forget to subscribe to my channel.